So what we're going to get into today is pretty much what being fit is actually like. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I've worked with hundreds of people as a trainer. I've been someone who's been a practitioner of like a fit lifestyle since I was like a teenager. Obviously, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. I've done a lot of stupid diets or dumb workout plans that didn't serve me. But at the end of the day, I've been someone who's been involved in it and in the trenches, trying to be healthier, be stronger, learn about nutrition, learn about fitness. Since I was like 13, 14 years old, and I'm 32 now, so that's a really long time. Every time I intake a new client or I'm working with someone and we're getting into the conversations about day to day stuff, I am always reminded about the misconception about what being in shape and being fit is actually like, or what it should be like. And I think sometimes we put it on a pedestal, and I think coaches, especially on social media, are guilty of this, especially, is they or we, maybe I'm guilty of this also, make it seem like it's this like awesome lifestyle that like you need to be a part of, and we have all these like secrets of how to live a healthier lifestyle, but realistically it's just basic shit. And the big miscommunication comes when I'm talking to a new client. They have this perception of what having healthy habits and what being in shape or being fit is actually like, and they seem to only really compare it to what they have seen on social media, what they've seen in movies and stuff like that, and they don't really have a clear idea of like what that should be. And realistically, being fit just means being physically healthy. I think there's a lot of uh, mental health stuff that goes into it as well. I think when you're in shape and you're healthy, you have better mental health, better emotional health, all that stuff. I think all that stuff plays a part in it, but people just seem to focus on the physical aspect, and they believe that there's this like very regimented, strict lifestyle that you need to lead, or maybe they think it's like this sexy, glamorous, not glamorous, but like a sexy kind of Instagrammy lifestyle of just like eating these like really interesting, healthy meals, and being able to eat a whole pizza and still have a six pack, and like, and it's just a huge misconception of like what the process actually looks like, and it can either deter people or it can make people feel like they're not capable of doing it. So the purpose of this podcast episode is to really just get into the differences between what people who are in shape year round for a very long time actually do versus what people think they should be doing. So we're going to go through a few comparisons, and I'll probably riff on some stuff along the way, and I hope you guys stay along for the ride. So one thing that, and I'm always going to label it as, what people do when they're trying to get in shape or get fit versus what people who are already in shape or already fit are actually doing. So when people are trying to get in shape, they tend to reduce the food that they're eating and really try to eat small snacky snack type meals throughout the day. So if you take the average person and you say, hey, you've got to lose 30 pounds, they're going to immediately just start reducing the servings of their food and, eating more snacky snack type foods like protein bars, kind bars, little handfuls of almonds, maybe like cut up vegetables. And there's nothing wrong with those foods, but that's just not what people who are staying in shape year round for years after year after year after year are actually doing. In fact, what people who are in shape, who are fit already, are actually doing is they're eating more big, balanced meals. When I'm looking at the food that I'm eating or that my most successful clients are eating, and I'm comparing it to what maybe like a new novice beginner client is coming in, and they're asking me questions about the foods they should be eating, and they're kind of starting to make their healthier choices as I'm guiding them through that. A lot of the stuff that they're talking about is always in these categories. So, for example, I might get a new client, and I intake them, whatever, give them their workout program, their calories, their protein, and their customized menu based on their food preferences. And one of the first questions I usually get is, what's a good protein bar? Like, what do you think of protein bars? What do you think of ready to drink shakes? And I get that the convenience of those things is good, and I'm not saying that they're bad, but before they're even focused on how they're going to feel when they have, a day under their belt of big, full, balanced meals, they're already looking at like small, snacky snack, quick grab options before they've even tried a few days of eating more healthy, nourishing foods. And it just is this big miscommunication because a lot of times on like, I always use Instagram as the scapegoat, but any form of social media or even in like movies and stuff where like, the dumb fit friend and based on like what they're eating, it, it's always kind of like promoting like, oh, they just drink shakes and they just eat bars. So when people are trying to get in shape, they're like, well, I should probably just drink shakes and eat bars. That's probably what these people do. And realistically, we're just not doing that. Like, I remember even when I was uh, becoming a trainer and I was interacting with uh, trainers who were more experienced than me, I came into it as a young kid going like, oh, these people are probably going to be eating like these like interesting foods and like they're going to have like these secrets and I'm going to like learn. I was excited to like learn more. Like I was a new trainer, so I'm like, oh man, like I'm going to learn all these new secrets. And it turns out like they were just doing like basic shit, but they were just being super super consistent with it over and over and over again. And that's why they're all 10, 15 years older than me and in phenomenal shape. So if you're trying to get in shape, try to, instead of focusing on little snacky snack type meals or snacks throughout the day, focus on more like big, whole, balanced meals. And I have a lot of content around how to build that, but basically like a lean protein, a produce, and a starch at least 3 times a day. For some people, that might be 4 times a day. And then if you need to, you can throw in like a protein snack, like a Greek yogurt or like a shake in between. But realistically, the big difference here is that people who are staying in shape year round are generally eating a lot of big, balanced, whole food focused meals, and they're not drastically reducing their serving sizes uh, to like these little snacky snack type portions. Uh, Example number two. Let's call it example number two. Uh, when people are trying to get in shape or trying to get fit, they're always looking for like new recipes, right? They're constantly trying to find like these healthy versions of palatable foods or just healthy recipes. And I mean, I've had people who I've either coached or just been giving them free resources online. And when I ask, sometimes we're like, "What can I help you with right now? Like, what's something big?" They're like, recipes. I need recipes. And then I give them 20 recipes. And then like 3 weeks later, they're like, I just need more recipes. And I always call them out on it in a polite way and ask them like, well, before you had these recipes, what did you normally eat? What was a normal day in your life like? What did you eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner? And they'll usually rattle off a bunch of basic stuff that doesn't require a lot of ingredients. That like, oh, I just, boil some spaghetti for dinner, or I have mac and cheese, or I grab a muffin for breakfast, or I make a turkey sandwich for lunch. So I always ask them, so why is it that when you're trying to get in shape, you need 100 different interesting recipes, but when you're not trying to get in shape and you're just living your normal life, why is it that you are okay with just these basic foods that are very easy to make? And this goes into like a whole, there's the misconception that they think they need these healthy recipes to keep them on track. They think that healthy food by itself is very boring and bland because they're only comparing it to like boiled chicken and broccoli or steamed broccoli and grilled chicken, and they think that's all they can eat. When in reality, there's like a lot of different foods that you can choose from that are very good that you can season to taste, and if you have even the most basic ability in the kitchen. If you can just turn on a stovetop, you can make pretty much everything that I eat in a day to stay in shape and tastes relatively good. You don't need 100 recipes. It's more of a mindset block that you have because you are trying to create a barrier that's not there to give yourself a reason to stop. And that's really what it mainly is. And it sounds weird. You might be like, no, fuck you, Adam. That's not me. But it's true. If you think you need 20 different recipes every week, or you need to try a new, interesting, healthy recipe every other night, that's just a way that you're creating a barrier there because you're trying to give yourself a reason to go back to your old habits. You want to believe that getting in shape is harder than it is, so that you don't have to do it, or you have a reason to stop. So that when someone says, "Oh, you still doing that? Nutrition plan? Are you still doing that workouts?" You're like, "Oh no, it's just like the food got boring, or I fell off because I couldn't find any new recipes." You're just creating a barrier that's not there. Realistically, what people who are in shape actually do is they eat pretty similar meals day to day and keep it pretty basic. And then when you have a special occasion, or you want to try something new, guess what? It's new, it's novel, it's more fun. So, for example, using myself as an example, just because I know my life better than anyone else, um, day to day, I'm eating pretty basic foods. I season them. I might throw like a sauce or condiment on it, but like eating pretty much the same stuff. I'm eating eggs. I'm eating oatmeal. I'm eating rice. I'm eating beef. I'm eating ground turkey. I'm eating steak. I'm eating salmon. I'm eating shrimp. I'm eating potatoes. I'm eating vegetables. I'm eating fruits, and I'm just kind of rotating through those things. We'll have burgers like at least once a week, if not twice a week, which is again, it's just grass fed beef made into a patty and throw a piece of cheese on it and some lettuce and tomato and cut up some potatoes and throw them in the oven and make like baked fries. That's probably the most interesting dinner I have during the week most of the time. And I look forward to it. It's not a cheat meal, I just like it. And I don't do this because I need to be regimented. I just do this because that is generally how 99% of people live. They're eating the same shit all the time. It's just that most people aren't choosing healthy foods. So if you feel like you're having trouble creating a healthy menu for yourself, don't overwhelm yourself by trying to find all these new recipes. Take a good, honest look at what you're normally eating. I guarantee you, you're eating the same 3 to 5 dinners throughout the week. You're ordering out or going to the same one or two or maybe three different places. You're eating the same one or two breakfasts or lunches. You're just eating the same shit all the time. Your life is not this highly palatable 12 course tasting menu that you would get on like a private yacht. You're eating the same shit all the time. So if you can gradually over time make that same monotonous shit just healthier and a little less calories, a little more protein, you're gonna be able to maintain it. So you don't need 100 different recipes to stay in shape. You just need to find some basic meals that work for you and stick to them the majority of the time. Another one with this, not to go off on a whole thing, but just if you go into it going, "Oh, I feel like I'm gonna get sick of this pretty soon," you're gonna get sick of it. If you make a turkey sandwich on Monday and you're already thinking how you're gonna be sick of this by Friday, you're just creating a barrier that doesn't need to be there. Guess what? If you get sick of it, you just find a different option that fits the same template: protein, produce, starchy carb. But if you start eating better, right, and you start eating a shrimp, rice, and vegetable kind of stir fry thing for lunch every day, and you get sick of it, and then what you do instead is go to Jersey Mike's and get a sub drenched in oil and mayo, then that's not a reasonable solution, right? So if you're sick of shrimp, try beef. You're sick of beef, try chicken. You're sick of chicken, try turkey. You're sick of turkey, try pork tenderloin. You're sick of that, try salmon. Like just rotate through basic foods, keep it basic, keep it simple, and then when you go out to eat or something like that, then you enjoy yourself. But if you're expecting every meal to taste uh, or be as interesting as the stuff you see on like Instagram when you hashtag healthy recipes, then you're going to be disappointed pretty quickly. So go in with the expectation they're probably going to be eating the same stuff most of the time. What people try to do to get in shape, another example, let me just click through this. Sorry, I have a little presentation down over here that I'm looking at. Um, One thing that people do is they immediately try to cut down on carbs. So again, forget let's forget about working with hundreds of people. Let's also focus on the thousands of just random conversations I've had with people who are asking questions about nutrition, who are asking questions about coaching. One of the first things they're gonna do is either ask me about carbs or say that they've tried cutting carbs in the past, and it's usually the first thing to go when people are looking to lose weight. So I deal with it all the time. As soon as someone gets their mindset in, "I want to lose weight," they just start cutting the carbs. Now, the nuance of this is that, if you are eating enough protein in your diet and you're eating an adequate number of calories, then generally when you reduce your calories to see fat loss and to lose weight, you're going to reduce them from carbs and fats because you don't ever really reduce your protein intake for no reason. So for most people, they don't eat enough protein to begin with. They don't eat enough balanced meals. They're usually kind of eating very low calorie some days and very high calorie other days. There's no consistency. So then immediately they just go, oh, I'm just going to start cutting carbs. So now they start eating just plain protein, which is pretty boring most of the time, or they're afraid, they have an unrealistic fear of things like fruits or potatoes, so they start eliminating those. So they have a little less energy. It's less sustainable. Anyway, cutting down on carbs is not the answer to getting in shape. If you go into it with that approach, then you don't really know what to do when you're done because now you've created this like inherent fear of carbs. People who are in shape year round, I would say generally are eating carbs at pretty much every meal. Uh, I've never, I've honestly never met someone who's been in shape for a long period of time. So I'm not talking about someone who lost 30 pounds last year and then gained it back. I'm not talking about someone who's constantly on and off diets and gaining, losing 10 pounds. I'm talking about people who have stayed in good shape, who have progressively gotten maybe even in better shape over the course of 5, 10, 15, 20 years. All of these people across the board are eating carbs at every single meal. So you can't really ignore that type of real life evidence that you find. You can read Instagram posts, you can read articles, you can have some sort of confirmation bias where you're seeking proof of an idea, which is a huge thing. So if you believe carbs are bad, you're going to seek out content, you're going to seek out articles, you're going to pay more attention to people who are saying carbs are bad because you want to confirm that belief. And then what happens is you can't stick to it. And then someone, interacts with me and they're like, I want to lose 30 pounds, but my thing is, I can't cut out carbs. I just don't want to cut out carbs. And I always tell them, well, you don't have to, right? If you've been trying to do that over and over and hasn't worked for you, there's a reason. It's because people who are in shape and are staying in shape year round, they're eating carbs all the time. I just got done eating carbs 30 minutes ago before I started recording this. And I'm going to eat them again in probably another hour and a half, right? So it's about what is the total number of calories you're eating, what is the quality of food that you're eating. So if you're eating Skittles and Blu-ray muffins and Jersey Mike subs, and that's your typical diet, you're eating tortilla chips, like, yeah, you're probably over consuming calories, and those calories happen to be coming from carbs and fats. It doesn't mean you need to cut out carbs. It means you need to choose better options most of the time so you're not going way over your calories. And there's a huge difference there. So if you're looking at, you know, people in your, maybe not people in your life directly, but if you were to have access to someone who's been doing this for 10 plus years, so someone who has been consistent with their working out, who has stayed in shape or gotten in better shape over the course of 10 years, and you ask them if they cut out carbs, I guarantee you 99% of people are going to say no, that they don't cut out carbs. You're going to find outliers in every situation. Maybe someone is a keto zealot and that's the lifestyle they choose to live, and that's fine. But most people are not cutting out carbs. They see the value in them. I'm not saying you have to carbo load and eat, ridiculous amounts to the point that you're bloated, but having carbs at every meal is going to make your diet more balanced. It's going to be more sustainable. And I guarantee you're going to feel way, way better when you are eating them at each meal. If you go from a low carb keto diet to eating an adequate amount of carbs, you are going to feel better, sleep better, stay more adherent to your diet, have better workouts, and see better results. So don't cut out carbs. What people try to do when they're trying to get in shape versus people who are actually in shape year round. Um, People trying to get in shape, they are automatically trying to jump into a calorie deficit or attempting to stay in a calorie deficit for a long period of time year round. There's a lot of nuance to this, so let's talk about it a bit. So, like, a calorie deficit just means you're burning more calories than you're eating. You can achieve a calorie deficit by reducing the calories that you eat or by exercising more, building up your metabolism, building more muscle so that you burn more calories throughout the day. Now, at the end of the day, if you want to lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit. The problem is that you don't need to stay, and you shouldn't stay in a calorie deficit year round. You should be in a calorie deficit to until you lose the weight that you want to lose, and then you should be returning to your baseline habits and maintenance calories that you would be maintaining year round. This is the huge difference, because people who are actually in shape, who would stay in shape year round, they're usually spending most of the year eating enough calories just to maintain body weight, which basically means they are eating at what's called maintenance calories. So you're eating about an equal number of calories to maintain your body weight. You're not necessarily gaining weight, you're not losing weight, you're just kind of fluctuating between like 1 to 5 pounds. Now, for most people, that sounds like a living hell, right? Because you're so used to trying to lose weight that the idea of staying in a 1 to 5 pound weight range sounds like hell, because you're only associating results with the scale. So think about this. If you've had trouble keeping weight off or getting into the shape you want to get into, this could be you. If you think that maintaining body weight is a bad thing, then you have to fix your relationship with the scale and with this process. Because what do you expect you're going to do once you lose the weight that you want to lose? So think about that realistically. Let's say you want to lose 20 pounds. What do you think your life is going to be like once you lose the 20 pounds? Do you think you're going to keep trying to lose weight after that? I want to really let that sink in, because most people don't think about this. They're just thinking about, well, I got to get this 20 pounds off, and they're waiting for that scale to come down. They're not thinking about, what do I do once the 20 pounds come off? How am I going to live? How am I going to eat? You need to spend some time, a few months, developing a lifestyle that you can come back to after you lose the weight. It's very, very important. People miss this step all the time. Every client that I work with does this for the first few weeks. We create a lifestyle that you can come back to. This way, after you lose the weight that you want to lose, or you lose the body fat that you want to lose, this is what you do. So there's no question about, well, what do I do now? Well, what did we do for the first 4 to 6 weeks? Now you're going to do that once you've lost the weight. And they're like, oh, okay, well, now I know what to do. Most people go on diets and they don't know what to do after. So jumping into a calorie deficit haphazardly, without kind of being ready for it, can be a recipe to fail for most people, because you don't have any habits built. And when you're jumping into that calorie deficit, what are you doing? The stuff we talked about. You're cutting carbs. You are trying to find 100 different healthy recipes. You're doing that stuff, and jumping into this calorie deficit with no exit strategy, no plan afterwards. And if realistically, if you're trying to lose 20 pounds, let's say it takes 8 months, right? Um, you have now the next few decades to maintain that weight. So, what do you think is going to happen? You think the scale's going to go down for decades? Then you would be in the negative with your body weight. If you lose 20 pounds, you then have to maintain that weight loss. So, you're going to spend most of your year in calorie maintenance, maintaining a 1 to 5 pound weight range. And then occasionally, if you're like, I want to lean out a little bit more, or I'm going on I want to do a fat loss phase, I want a little bit of a challenge, then you go into a deficit for a little while. But most of the time, you're not going to be in a deficit. And if you feel like you need to be in deficit year round, then you just have a distorted view of what this process looks like. Now, there are some people who have to be in deficits longer than others, and that's the nuance of it. So if you're someone who needs to lose 100 pounds, your deficit's probably going to be way, way longer. I think there's value in doing like diet breaks in the middle of that, where we bring calories up for a little while. Maybe you lose 15 pounds of the 100, then you try to maintain that for a month. And then you go to lose another 15 pounds over the course of a few months, and then you try to maintain that. Most people just are so freaked out by the idea of maintaining weight that they just will quit when the scale doesn't go down. Big, big mistake. If you lose even 5 pounds and you maintain that, that means you are creating a new set point for your body, a new normal, to where you don't have to try as hard to lose weight again. It's a very, very good thing. Maintaining body weight is a very good thing. If you're freaked out by it, it's just because you've never lost the weight you wanted to lose and figured out how to maintain it. But think about that. If you want to lose 20 pounds and someone teaches you how to lose it and then also how to keep it off, that's amazing. That's the secret right there. That's the magic pill that you've been looking for, is being able to maintain the weight loss, which brings us to another point, which is, what do people do when they try to get in shape? They're constantly trying to lose weight on the scale. What do people do when they are staying in shape year round? They're constantly trying to support and build muscle. So this is different than like getting bulky. This isn't like, training for a bodybuilding competition where you've got to put on massive amounts of muscle and then cut away the fat. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the average person who wants to look better, be more toned, feel leaner, feel more confident in their clothes. You have to get on board with the fact that you need to build and support lean muscle. How do you do that? You're not just haphazardly dropping into a calorie deficit whenever you feel like it. You're not drastically cutting your carbs. You're not making your diet more complicated by trying to have 100 different recipes. You are eating enough protein and enough calories to get really good workouts. You're trying to get stronger week to week, month to month, year over year. And when I'm saying stronger, I'm saying like incrementally stronger. It doesn't mean you have to go from lifting 15-pound dumbbells to 50-pound dumbbells in a month. It means if you're doing 15 pounds right now for a shoulder press for 8 reps, in 3 months, can you now do 20s for 3 sets of 8 reps? In another 3 months, can you now do 25s for 3 sets of 8 reps? Are you gradually getting stronger? If you can do one push up off of a table right now, so hands on the table, standing up, and you can only do one push up, and then in 3 months you could do 10 of those. Maybe you can't do a push up on the floor yet, but now you can do 10 off a table. That's progressing. You're getting stronger. Most people don't do this. They don't work on their form. They don't work on getting stronger in the gym. They just show up and move, and then are trying to cut carbs and reduce calories to a unsustainable level, and then they're frustrated they're not maintaining results. So what you need to do is really focus on, how do I feel? Maybe I need to focus on how I feel first before I'm just trying to lose scale weight. Do I feel good in the gym? Am I getting less joint pain? Am I moving better? Do I feel less tightness? Do I feel better digestion? Am I sleeping better? Do I have more energy? Like, all this stuff plays into it. So if you're constantly trying to lose scale weight, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Yes, if you want to lose 20 pounds, eventually the scale does need to go down. But it doesn't need to go down at the rate that you think it does. People think they need to be losing 2 pounds a week, when in reality, over the course of 6 to 12 months, if you lose 10 to 20 pounds, you're doing it really, really well. And that's not to, say that it's always going to go that slow. It might go faster for some people, but your goal is to lose 20 pounds, chances are you actually need to build muscle first, and then focus on weight loss. So if your goal is to lose 20 or less pounds, you need to reframe the way you go about dieting, and really focus on building and supporting lean muscle, because that's what's going to lead to you looking better, as opposed to just dropping weight on the scale. It's a huge mindset shift for a lot of people, but again, it's really, really important, and something you probably need to be coached through to a certain extent. What do people try to do when they get in shape? They don't try. This is what they normally do: is they eat one way when they're dieting, and they eat a totally different way when they're done. Whereas people who are in shape year round, they're eating the same 80 to 90% of the time. Huge, huge difference, huge paradigm shift for a lot of people. People go into diets with a means to an end mindset, meaning, I'm going to do this, eat this certain way until I get to this body fat or this body weight, or to this wedding, to this vacation. And it's a constant cycle of crash dieting, going back to what they were doing before. There's no baseline built. And we kind of talked about this a few minutes ago. You have to create habits that you maintain year round for multiple years in a row for decades. And to a lot of people, that feels very daunting. But again, if you're doing this in a sustainable way that's making you feel your best, think about that realistically. If I'm telling you, we're going to help you, through these podcasts, through these free resources, through these videos, I'm going to help you have a better relationship with food, to where you don't have to have complicated recipes. You can eat carbs. You're going to eat enough to feel your best. You're going to eat whole, nourishing food so that you're sleeping better, have better energy, better digestion, and you're actually going to enjoy the taste of it. And you're going to have awesome workouts. And as a side effect of all that, you're going to lose body fat. What about that? It sounds, ugh, that sounds so restricting. I don't want to do that, right? That's just your mindset getting in the way. We're really trying to create a overall better lifestyle so that you can see the results you want to see. And guess what? You can also choose to what scale you want to do that. So if you are looking at your healthy lifestyle that's getting you results and you're like, yeah, but I kind of want to like be able to make spaghetti and meatballs, a couple times a week, or I want to be able to get Chipotle for lunch most of the time. You can still do that and keep 80% of your results. The problem is people want to be able to have their cake and eat it too. They want to be able to eat whatever they want, not worry about calories, not worry about protein, only work out when they're motivated, drink as much alcohol as they want, and then just also be shredded and be super lean. And you can't really do that. You can, though, be in really good physical condition, have really good, health markers. You can drastically improve your lifestyle, and you can feel better, look better, and drop pan sizes and drop weight on the scale by doing like 80% of the stuff or 70% of the stuff even. It's just you have to be really consistent with it. Most people are eating one really restrictive crash diet way when they're trying to lose weight, and then when they're done, they go back to their old bad habits. Again, the habits that got them to the place where they need to lose 20 or 30 pounds, and then they're expecting to just maintain the weight loss and they're wondering why it's not happening. Again, huge mistake. You can't go into it with, I'm doing this only till I get to this point and then I'm going to stop. It's just the wrong way to go about it. It's never going to lead to the success you want it to lead to. You have to just stick to basic shit all the time, year round. It's very, very important, but it's a total game changer. One other thing is naming your diet. If you have a name for your diet, chances are it's a temporary thing. So think about this. Anytime you've tried to lose weight, really think about this. I would say most of the time you're probably like on something or doing something, right? I'm gonna do Weight Watchers. I'm on Whole30. I'm doing keto. I'm trying intermittent fasting. Like you're naming the diet. And once you name it, you're attaching a piece of you to it. And it's a really weird, unsustainable thing. Like your identity shouldn't be associated with the food you eat. For some people, it is. It's a weird kind of trend that's now happened with fitness. Is diets have become this thing where people attach like their personality to it, and their identity becomes attached to their diets. Like I'm a vegan, I'm a carnivore, I'm keto, I'm intermittent fasting, and it's all just surface level bullshit, right? If you, and I'm not saying your beliefs are bullshit, I'm saying that like if you're labeling your identity attached to your diet, it's just an odd thing to do, and it goes both ways. Like if you're someone who goes, I'm just a big pasta meatballs guy. Like it's just weird to attach your identity to the food you eat. If you have a name for your diet, you are just setting yourself up for that short-term approach. So if you're currently right now like, well, I'm doing Whole30 and it's doing pretty well, or I'm doing 75 hard, or I'm doing keto, or I'm doing intermittent fasting, um, I'm not shitting on you. I'm just saying you got to have a plan of what you're going to do when that's done, or else the whole thing is pretty pointless. In the long run, maybe it's not pointless because maybe you learn a lesson from it and you don't do it again. That's fine too. But people who are in shape year round, they don't have a fucking name for their diet. It's just called eating. Like I don't ever say I'm on a diet or I can't eat that. I'm just like I don't really want that, or nah, I'm good. Like I don't have a name for what I'm eating on a regular basis. I'm just eating what I eat because I know it gets me enough protein, I know it gets me enough calories, and I know that it tastes good and my digestion feels good and I get good workouts. If I didn't have any of those things in place, I would then need to change something. So if my digestion is rough, if I am sleeping shitty, if I feel like I'm gaining unwanted weight, then I just tweak what I'm doing, but I don't call it anything. So you know, if it's the holidays and I'm being more relaxed with my diet, and then I feel like I'm putting on unwanted weight, I just reduce the shit that I'm doing that's putting on the unwanted weight. I don't say, oh, all right, now I'm gonna get serious. I'm going on this, diet and I'm gonna get this weight off. And I don't say that to be like, insensitive to people who, deal with that, to who are getting to the end of the year and, you know, panicking that they've put on weight. But it's just if you're repeating that cycle over and over, it just means that you haven't created the habits that you need to create yet. So if you have a name for your diet, then you're probably not gonna stick to it for a very long time. So, and if you do, that's awesome. That's cool. I'm not shitting on that. But for most people, you're not sticking to a diet for a year if it's got a name. So when I take on a client and we're going over their nutrition, I'm never name their diet. I never say you're on this diet. It just okay. Well, these are some foods that I think will help you get to your protein goals. These are some foods that you told me that you liked that I think we should fit in, and we're gonna work on how to slowly get your current habits to these new habits and help you get the success you want to get. So that's no one says that when they're describing their diet. These are just some examples, guys. There's a ton of examples like this, but if you resonate with any of this, if you're like, oh wow, yeah, I always do the stuff that people do when they're trying to get in shape. I don't actually have these baseline habits that in shape people year round have. Then you just answered your own problem, right? You solved your own problem. Well, then what do I need to do to change that? Start doing the things that people who are in shape do. So I'm not talking about Instagram influencers who are telling you like, I do this, magic, green smoothie every morning, and here's the link in my bio to get the same thing that I use. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, find someone that you trust who stays in good shape year round, and help them guide you. And I'm happy to do that. I have a ton of free resources, ton of free podcasts, free videos to help you build these habits, and everything that I coach people on is stuff that I know I do year round and that my clients do year round. And the individuality with dieting comes from you know the small little things, like what foods do you hate, what foods do you like, how many meals a day do you prefer to eat, things like that. When you're talking about like individualization for your diet, it doesn't mean that like there's like a magic macro count for you, or there's these special foods that are going to help you lose weight, or there's this magic meal template that's just for you. It's finding foods that you like. It's finding the amount of meals per day that you prefer, finding what lifestyle hurdles pop up and how active your social life is to work around that. That's where the individualization comes in. But the basic principles stay the same. You got to keep your calories in check. You got to keep your protein up. You got to eat more whole, balanced, meals with nutrient-dense foods. And you probably shouldn't have a name for your diet. You probably shouldn't be always in a calorie deficit. You probably shouldn't crash diet for 6 weeks and then go back to eating shitty for 6 months, right? And when I say that to you, you're probably like, well, yeah, I already know that. Okay, well then why aren't you doing it? What's the hurdle there? What's the mindset block? What's the reason that you're having trouble sticking to these habits? And that's the stuff you have to confront. But, you know, uh, 10 years ago, I wish I knew a lot of the stuff that I know now because I tried everything. I tried keto, I've tried intermittent fasting, and every time I tried one of those things, they never worked long term. And I always would fall off, and I would think it was me. I'd be like, oh man, I just can't stick to it. Like, why can't I be hardcore? Why am I not tough enough to like, why am I so weak? I can't like stick to keto. I can't like stick to intermittent fasting. And the truth is, it's just they're not sustainable for most people. For some people, they are. For me, they're not. And for if you're listening to this, it's probably not for you either. Because if it was, you wouldn't even listen to my bullshit. You'd be like happy and confident in your decisions. And that's the last piece that I'll leave you guys with is that when you find habits that work for you and you have the knowledge and uh, the habits in line, you have so much confidence in what you're doing that you're not shook by these other things. So I had a client recently. I talked about her in an Instagram post, and she's an awesome client. She's lost like 15 pounds. She's maintained it. She's in her 60s, and she's never missing workouts. She's actually traveling the country right now with her husband, and she has found a gym in every state that she's been to, and I've adjusted her workouts accordingly. But she admitted recently that her nutrition hadn't been as consistent as she'd like it to be. She was traveling a lot. Went on a couple cruises, but she still works, so she's not retired. So she's also working while she's away. She works remote, um, and she's just had been eating out more, eating ice cream more, and not really logging her food, just kind of like winging it, still hitting her workouts though. But she said how a few friends of hers had started doing intermittent fasting. They were losing weight really fast, and she was getting a little jealous. And so I talked her through it. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see where they are in a year if they're still doing it, or even in a month. And that's their own journey. And I'm sure if you were to look back on the last 5-10 years that you've known them, this might be like the 10th diet that they've done, and the 10th time they're going to lose the weight and gain it back, whereas you haven't gained any of the weight back that you've lost. But I basically said to her, I said, um, so what do you think you could be doing better? She said, well, could probably be eating less ice cream and logging my food. So any help you could give me would be appreciated. And I said to her, because we have a good relationship, I'm like, okay, well then eat less ice cream and start logging your food. It's pretty much that simple. You answered your own question. And she was like, holy shit, like it's so simple. I don't even know why I asked that, right? We all know what we should be doing, but we're not confident in our choices yet. So we're shook when someone is doing intermittent fasting or doing keto or doing Optavia. And you see your friend, they're losing weight faster than you. You're like, well, I'm over here like working out, and like I've been consistent with this for 4 months, 6 months, 12 months, and they lost 15 pounds in 6 weeks, and I'm still working on getting this 20 pounds off. Like, what the hell? Like, maybe I should do that. Just stick it out, because in a year they're not going to be doing it. They're going to have gained the weight back. I'm not saying I wish that on them, just based on experience, that's usually what happens. And you're you're going to be like, if you stick to this stuff for the same amount of time, you're going to have lapsed them, and then you're going to be like, oh, why did I even get shook by that? Why did I even want to do that? And then the next time you hear about someone doing some crash diet, you're going to have the knowledge to be like, oh yeah, well, good luck with that, but I'm just going to do what I do. So that's what I try to help you guys with, is just build resources, build knowledge, so that you have the confidence in your own decisions to not be shook by other people's crash diet decisions. So I hope this is helpful to you guys. Again, if you liked it, please feel free to share it, leave a review, subscribe, all that shit. But at the end of the day, like, the main thing I want you to do, if you get value out of this, is just start applying it. Pick one thing and apply it this week and see if that helps you out a little bit. And if it does, let me know. If it creates a hurdle, let me know too, and I'll help you through it. But I hope this is helpful, guys, and I will talk to you soon.